Good afternoon and evening, everyone. This is Terra Quator. It's Monday, December 2nd, 2024. That means it's day 337.
Wow! Incredible!
Less than 30 days to go. I'm ready for the next challenge. But there are a few things I'll be talking about. First off, Sweet Pea still got up much later than I would have wanted. I haven't been able to get a whole lot done yet. The pork butt roast that we have will go into the oven tomorrow around, I'd say about 11 o'clock, maybe noon at the latest. Because I'll have to double check that one because it's heavier. So I'll have to recalculate how much time it'll be. It might, let's see, I think that one's a 10 pounder, which means I might need to start it around 8. I'll double check because I think it's like 1 hour per pound, and if this is a 10 pounder, then I need to put it in for about 10 hours. Okay. Buttercup should be getting home from school quite soon, so that's why I'm recording right now. At the time of recording is 3:49 p.m. She'll be getting home anywhere between now and later, depending on if she goes over to her grandmother's to have some fun first. They usually don't. I'd prefer if the in-laws would tell me if excuse me, a little phlegmy at the moment. I took a walk. I had to get stuff for dinner tonight, but I would prefer it if the in-laws actually, informed me of when the kids are going, like when the kids go over there, rather than school's out, they just go over, and then I'm left wondering, where are my kids? That's just how. Sorry, that's just how it goes, I guess. But big thing I wanted to talk about was No Man's Sky. You can see. I have spent plenty of time over the last several years, especially with the best way I could say it is all the how utterly, let's see, what would be the right word? Sorry, I keep bumping this because I moved it. What did I say? Disingenuous? Yeah, how utterly disingenuous. Is that the right word? That doesn't feel right. Deceptive. How about that? How utterly deceptive and disingenuous the Sweet Pea coming into this bedroom. How about that? There she goes. Oh, I had Tabasco. Anyway, as I talk about this one, I have to be careful. Lilia, you do not need to come in here. Sweet Pea will be fine. I forgot to lock the door, but we'll let her have fun back there. The best way. Let's see. So yes, utterly disingenuous. I still feel like that's not the right word, or I'm getting the word wrong. And deceptive. More than just game developers, but I'd say the entire media development landscape and how it's seeping into all the other industries. I do not like how deceptive and fake this woke BS is. I try not to be political, but this one, a little personal, I guess. I used to always say that among the woke stuff, how utterly fake it is, the easiest way to understand how fake this inclusiveness is just to raise your left hand. And my argument for that was how I grew up, where all musical instruments for left-handed people, all sporting equipment that's, hand dominance specific, say like, obviously not a bat, but like a a catcher's mitt, or a baseball glove, golf clubs, guitars, violins. So instruments and so instruments, sporting equipment, even school tools. Like when I was a kid back in the early 90s, even left-handed scissors were typically double the price of a regular pair of scissors. And as I grew up, all the things that would allow me to get into a hobby that had hand dominance cost double the price for me to get into. So when it comes to a lot of hobbies, like a lot of sports and music, were kind of off the table for me. And the reason, of course, is I'm left-handed. And I know even recently, because I do still want to learn to play the violin. That's something I want to do. I want to learn violin, but getting a left-handed violin is going to cost me double the price of a regular violin of the exact, or, not the exact same model, because a left-handed model is a different model, but of the same brand and type, making a left-handed is around double the price. Sometimes you'll get lucky where it's only a little bit more expensive, but it makes sense to me. I understand why, but I'll get to that. What I don't like is I grew up my whole life was then just be right-handed, or just learn to use right-handed stuff, which even to this day, I hear that. I started looking up violin stuff, because you can't just swap the strings around because you'll bust the neck of your violin. That's what I read up on. And professional, like orchestra violinists, all said just learn to use your right hand, because that's all you can do. And that's how it used to be, because especially with electric violins, left-handed are quite new. I used to look up left-handed violins, and then I did more research and realized that all of them that I looked up online were still right-handed. They weren't left-handed. So, in terms of usability, if I don't want to do, completely relearn or learn something right-handed, then majority of the time those hobbies and professions are off the table for me, purely from expense and the fact there's a very small market. If what is it, like 5% of the population is left-handed, kind of thing, something like that. So, and that means of that 5%, how many left-handed are going to want to be in that profession? Therefore, on a logistical level, there's just going to be a smaller an ever shrinking market of left-handed people. So therefore, why are you going to keep stock of a product for left-handed people when you're not sure when it's going to be purchased? So I understand that, especially in the physical goods market. I mean, I'll show you something right now. How about if I can pull this up? This is simple Corsair MMO mouse. Quite straightforward, yeah? They don't even make them for left-handed. You used to be able, you used to be able to have just, especially when a computer mouse was kind of a block, because it was easier to make that way. They were less ergonomic. And you can still do this in your computer settings. You can set for left-handed. And believe me, other people hate it. Oh, they hate it. I would argue switching your mouse left-handed, if you have just a standard mouse, say you're in a workplace and you switch it left-handed, they hate that more than people who play games inverted. It's very true. And a lot of it is the majority of your workplace or the people around you are all right-handed. So it makes sense to have it that way. The other point for that is, as computer mice became more ergonomic, so they would form fit your hand, so it would have less carpal tunnel, they're not sure how many left-handed people are going to buy the product. So when it comes to the Corsair Scimitar, it's a very niche product. I am a niche within a niche. And not to mention, just like everything else, there are certain things where you just have no choice. There are no options. It's, if I want to use a mouse, especially an ergonomic one so my hand is comfortable, my only option is to stick right-handed, because there just aren't left-handed products for that. It's like the Corsair Scimitar, they're all standard hand. They're not southpaw, or what they call southpaw or whatever. So it is what it is, and all of it again comes back to supply and demand. If they made the supply for them, where's the demand for left-handed people to use it, especially with like computer products, where everyone has spent their entire life geared to the left-handed computer, electronics, everything style there. It's easier to do with that because it's simple, it's right in front of you, and it doesn't require the same level of dexterity, because on a keyboard you need both hands. Well, typically need both hands anyway, so it just makes sense. But with like musical instruments, that's a completely different dexterity and activity for why it makes sense that you need to have that product available for left-handed people. But again, how many people are going to buy it? So if you make it, you need entirely different tools, an entirely different method of making it, and there are probably mistakes somewhere along the line of like, you got these things backward in the manufacturing process, do it again. But let me go close the door real quick. Go ahead and pause that. And there we go. Well, Buttercup just got home, that's what it is. So that explanation, it makes economic sense, or just common sense, to have a smaller supply of physical products for left-handed people. That's why, if I were to look around, I would say Microsoft would probably be the first to do it, to make a left-handed controller, but it's because we spent our entire lives using controllers right-handed, where the left thumbstick is movement, the right is typically for looking around, and all your buttons are right here. You spent your entire life with that. I don't think you want to turn around and try to use a left-handed controller like they do with games like Skyrim and Fallout VR, where if you want to be left-handed in the game because you're virtually and physically waving your arm around to swing a sword, or you're using your right hand to hold a bow while you're pulling back the drawstring with your left hand like you would as a left-handed person. So it makes sense that in VR, which is awesome, most VR is ambidextrous, and they have a left-handed option. The problem, which I would have to learn modding up the wazoo to do this, but all Bethesda did to address left-handed players was to mirror all the controls. So now, say I'm holding a controller, instead of the left thumbstick for movement, all of a sudden in VR, to be left-handed, my right thumb is all of my movement, and my left is now turning. And because you're attuned to muscle memory, so while you're sitting there trying to fight people, and you want to move forward, the next thing you know, you're looking, or, like, you want to sidestep, the next thing you know, you're just turning left instead of, trying to move to the left. So it's complicating. So it's better. What I learned is Skyrim VR is not for me. Unless I can mod it in left-handed, but don't mirror their controls, which I don't even know how to mod that kind of thing. I don't know game code. I have to wait until someone does that. But again, if 5% of 5% are playing a game, or 5% of the population's left-handed, And how many of those left-handed people play games? How many of them are going to be playing that game particular, and how many of them are going to be modding? And if they mod, how many people are going to want that mod? So, in a gamer's perspective and just economic sense, accommodating left-handed is just expensive, and what do you get out of it? Because this is a capitalist meritocratic society, so it makes sense. It makes sense as much as it sucks. Because believe me, I'd like to see more left-handed things in games, especially online multiplayer games. And I can get to that with No Man's Sky because they're the ones that really surprised me. See, with multiplayer games, in more ways than not, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't even offer that when they're doing the really divisive woke crap. Like the stuff that really, no matter what they do, no one's going to be happy. So why bother? Other than you just want to piss people off. Where they're accommodating a tiny bit of the population to alienate the rest of the gaming population, is what I see. Is to accommodate a few people, they'll alienate everyone else and say you are the problem. But while they're doing that, you ask about something like left-handedness, and you get the exact same answer I got from the violinist. Just be right-handed. That is a giant middle finger. So all they do the entire time is give the entire gaming community middle fingers while they pat each other on the backs. Because they're the ones developing, so now other people are like, you know what, then I'll just do my own thing, and everyone rags on it. Or not everyone, but the ones who rag on it, who hold all the financial power, are the ones having their little, I really want to use a vulgar language, but I don't use vulgar language here. If I want to do a vulgar language thing, I'll work on a second channel. I have one, but I don't do anything on it. But when I get to rambling, I'm not the best with conveying my words. I can think them in my head perfectly fine, but then when I start talking it out, knowing that I'm talking it out, it's harder to get all my thoughts in order. But they insult people who ask genuine questions, especially like and I've asked this with developers. Like, what about just even visually, just a left-handed option where your character can be left-handed if you choose? Because it would make sense, and visually it would look pretty cool to have a left-handed person next to a right-handed person in a game. And there are some mechanics that would work really well with that. Yet when you ask that, you get insulted and told that you're asking for utter nonsense, and it wouldn't matter because there aren't enough people who would use it. Those are the kinds of answers I have personally gotten. I don't need to go naming names because I never got any names attached to them. It's usually in forums, or even when I ask the customer service lines for games, or like send a suggestion. I've gotten metaphorical middle fingers almost every time, because it involves actually putting in the work. That's how I see it. The woke stuff, it requires a lot less work because it's just a cosmetic thing. And it's going to piss everyone off, but they'll get their friends to be happy about it. But when it comes to something like left-handed mechanics in a game, and have it be visually distinguished or distinguishable, that involves a lot more work, a lot more code. How many people are going to use it? Are people going to care? I care, so I guess in some ways, me complaining about this almost makes me feel like a hypocrite, but at the same time, I know what work goes into that kind of thing. And the fact, I mean, some of the arguments can be very similar to like the LGBT community, which I want nothing to do with the LGBT community, or the LGBT I want nothing to do with them because I don't like activism. Or their activism. How about that? I really don't like it. They're some of the most hateful, like the activists are the most hateful people I've ever met. And the activists alone are why I just stay clear away. And I know I have plenty of other gay and trans friends who are like, they're out of their dang minds. So we just stay away. But let's say there's a whole different thing there. I try not to focus on it, but No Man's Sky surprised me, as you can see on the screen while I'm playing, or other game footage. How about that? But if you see there, No Man's Sky did exactly what I've been asking for decades. For decades, I've been asking, like, if it's even possible. And some people would say, it's not possible, or you're wasting our time. Who's going to use it? Yet here it is in No Man's Sky, which, from what I remember, because I haven't played this is like the other day was the first time I ever played No Man's Sky. My friend Onyx convinced me to try it out, and they are the only ones I've ever seen successfully put left-handed in there without mirroring controls, which means there are a total of 3 games that have left-handed options, but only one that doesn't mirror the controls. And the other 2 that I played, the controls are mirrored, and it's VR, so you don't see yourself anyway. And they're partial ambidextry in there anyway because of dual wielding kind of stuff. But again, No Man's Sky is the only one. And I ran some tests with Onyx. I'm going to try to get him. I can't give a guarantee if I can get a screenshot right now. But we tested it out. And thanks, computer. We did test it out. Where both first person and third person, it's the left hand. You're still using your controller like normal, which is important because all of your muscle memory is right here. Visually, your character's just left-handed, which I already really like. I never thought I'd see it. So I was like, okay, Onyx, let's run a test. I see that and what I immediately saw when we got into a co-op or multiplayer session is that his character is still holding his equipment with his right hand. Okay, so we're gonna run a test. I'm gonna use my mining beam, and he took a photo, but I'm gonna see if he can send me a screenshot. My character, from his perspective, is still holding the weapon in the left hand, and that surprised the ever-living bejesus out of me. See, I'm still trying not to curse, but that's one of those, oh my goodness, I want to curse, I'm so excited, because someone actually did it. I have no idea when they did it, how far back or how recent that is, but that's one of those things most people will just gloss over. And this is beyond just visual, just beyond just cosmetic kind of thing. It's a mechanics kind of thing too, because it's more familiar to me. I'm left-handed. Now, this same kind of mechanic, with how hitboxes work now in multiplayer games, especially FPS games, shooters, multiplayer shooters have smaller and smaller hitboxes that are closer to the actual model. And the firing mechanics are still along with the barrel of your weapon, whatever you're playing. Instead of just, here's your square block, if it peeks out, the whole block kind of thing. I mean, they have different damage markers for different areas and all that kind of stuff. But if in FPS games you can corner peek in and out, have a character that's left-handed, they can corner peek the other corners. It would add an entire dynamic to a competitive or even non-competitive FPS, PvP, or PvE game, where you have people covering both areas. You have a lefty over here if you have a lefty, and you have a right-handed person over here. Stage left and right, whatever. You get what I mean? But that would add a dynamic that could keep a few people on their toes. I mean, if they're on the same skill levels. There would be no advantage or disadvantage. It would just be situational, I suppose. It's kind of like what I heard about castles, like medieval castles in England, mostly Europe, where all the spiraled staircases in those castles are designed to make it harder to fight. They're like harder to attack. They're better to defend because the way you're going up is always clockwise. So a right-handed person has trouble getting their arm up the spiral staircase. This is what I saw on a documentary. So if the staircases are different, you can tell me I'm wrong. But while the right-handed person can't get their armor up around that spiral because it's a little bit more awkward. They can, but it's more awkward. It gives the defender in the staircase the fighting advantage because they're looking counterclockwise down, so they have more motion of their right arm. But a left-handed person going on the attack would be somewhat of an equalizer, minus, not having the high ground. Whereas an attacker, you'd probably want someone left-handed going up that staircase because they'd have a better fighting chance of pressing forward because now they're both able to get their arms around that center column in the staircase. It's the easiest way I can say is wall peeking and that. And not to mention it would visually look cool, I think. But it would feel, for some, it would feel more real. And I don't mean like, oh no, get reality in there. No. What I mean is, this is how we see the world around us, where it's not, pasted just one way. And with all the woke stuff being in games, I mean, why not do something that's constructive? Because I don't see it as destructive or divisive at all. Because I'm saying don't retcon a character to be left-handed. Don't do anything like that. Just have an option. Just say, hey, I push a button. Simple as that. And I can understand some things. Like I thought about it with something like Starfield. Some of those things you can just swap over, but a lot of tools are right-handed only, and you'd have to do a whole lot of redesign to the models. So I can understand that. It's a lot more work. A lot more work that most developers don't want to do, but kudos to No Man's Sky. You pulled off what a lot of people told me would be too much work or near impossible coding and cosmetically. You pulled it off, and I absolutely respect that. You've surprised the bejesus out of me, and I think I'm going to be playing a lot more No Man's Sky. Not only for that, but it's actually fun. I'm having fun with it. I'm learning. I mean, I'm brand new to it, so I have a lot to learn. Tessa covered that too. But I look forward to the possibility that other games follow suit and just have the option. It doesn't need to be something you shoehorn on everyone. Just have it as an optional thing. And I'd say that's been my big gripe with the other divisive stuff in games and movies, is rather that as an optional thing of, okay, whatever. It's in your face. It's forced on you. Get used to it. And that's awfully narcissistic. That's how I see it. And there's nothing natural about that either. It is when it's incredibly forced and done from a place of hate. But, if you have a character, like, how about this? I'll talk about my gripes on that another time. This is mainly because I'm just absolutely surprised they gave me a left-handed option in a game and not have it be utterly broken and unusable to the point like, well, I'm not playing this. Because that's what happened with Skyrim VR. And a little bit with Half-Life Alyx too, where the left-handed controls are so utterly broken, they're unplayable for left-handed people because of muscle memory. We have, I'm 36 years old. So I have 26, or I have 28 years plus. Maybe even 30 if I count the Nintendo Entertainment System. But yeah, I'd say about 30 years of muscle memory attached to standard game controllers. And for something in VR where I also started VR with the same general control, like, you know, input-output control, or just input controls, being the exact same setup. So it's like, okay, this big, huge game that people are anticipating, let's just mirror the controls so a left-handed person... No, it didn't work. It doesn't work. But No Man's Sky pulled it off, and if a game developer wants to follow an example, that would be it. It doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be shoved down people's throats. You don't have to retcon anything. Just an optional thing. If it's just a player character, not a story-driven character, it's very doable. If you have a customizable character, give it an option to do that. Like, look at PSO2 NGS. It would be possible to do it there, or it should be. They're not going to. I really don't expect them to, but if any game wants to add some dynamics that are visually and mechanically differentiating, give that an option. See how it goes. Some people might like it, some might not. I've met my share of people, Catholics mostly, who really don't like left-handed people. But I've met some people from all weird backgrounds that just really don't like them, and a lot of it stems back to the old stereotype of the nuns who smack your hands for being left-handed. Start using your right hand, darn it, kind of thing. But that's died out because it doesn't affect anyone. I mean, it's not like the only person being left-handed can affect is yourself. It doesn't really affect anyone else. Well, unless you're fenced, in a sword fight, then I guess it has an effect. Or if you're a pitcher, it has an effect. I mean, that's why in baseball they look for left-handed pitchers or ambidextrous. They used to look for those kinds of things. That's a whole different thing. I don't need to go into it anymore. You get the idea. But please, just don't use the same pressure tactics of the woke crowd. That stuff's just disgusting. Just use some encouragement. If you know any developers, be like, hey, check this out. That's actually pretty darn cool. Just ask, what if we made this possible in our multiplayer games, where a left-handed could be coming up on you and you have to change your strategy just slightly in a PvP, or in like an MMO where you're working together and you have one, or not one, but a few people who decide, hey, I want to play a left-handed character. So they make their character left-handed just for stories, just for their own little plot line, or even just, it's like, I'm left-handed, so what? Yeah, that'd be fun. But that's enough rambling. Tessa's done this rant in VRChat a long time ago. But that was also before we knew that No Man's Sky had it too. I'll have to look up when No Man's Sky put it in. Maybe it's new. Maybe it was one of those stealth updates, but I have a feeling it may have been there for quite a long time. But I would still say they're the first to make it work, and make it work well. But I will say the first game to do something like that and have it be just totally fine was Legend of Zelda. Talking NES, because Link was left-handed. And of course, we know what happened when they moved to the Wii. They retconned their character to accommodate the. I mean, they did it to accommodate the majority of the people who are going to be playing their game, so it wouldn't be too mechanically complicating for them. Makes sense. It makes complete sense why they did that. Believe me, I don't think I want to try using a Wiimote left-handed. Wait, I have used a Wiimote left-handed when I did the Wii bowling, but with the nunchuck and everything, no. I still learned to play Metroid Prime 3 and the Prime trilogy. I learned how to play right-handed because I use a TV remote with my right hand. There are certain things I do that I'm ambidextrous, and a lot of that is because what choice did I have? Left-handed is definitely one of those things where you have to be mindful of everyone else rather than just yourself, kind of thing. Where you have to be mindful, this is what other people have. And you can't force someone to change everything in their business, in their homes, or in your schools, to change everything to accommodate you. Because it doesn't make mechanical sense. You'd essentially be making everything harder for everyone around you to have left-handed things there. Because if they start running out of right-handed tools because they had to accommodate a certain percentage of left-handed tools, where you what is it? Not a quota. Maybe it is a quota, where you have a quota of how many left-handed tools are in a place of business or in a place of education, where say you have so many students, you don't even have a guarantee. You don't even have a guarantee that any of your students are going to be left-handed. So what if you have a mandated requirement that say 5 or even to be optimistic, a 15 or 10 to 15% requirement of your tools be left-handed usable, or for left-handed, and all of a sudden you have an entire class of only right-handed people, and you only have the number of tools for the number of students, like a classroom of 30 or 40. Believe me, I had large classrooms growing up. Well, if they're all right-handed and you have a requirement that up to 15 of those items, you can't be under that percentage number for left-handed people, then that means 15% of your class can't use it, and they have to wait on everyone else to finish up what they're doing. There's the flaw. There's the flaw in forcing it. And that's why growing up left-handed, I knew majority of the time I'm just going to have to use right-handed scissors. Majority of the time I'll have to learn to use a right-handed glove. I learned how to golf a little bit left and right-handed. Because if any of my clubs broke, I got to use someone else's. And believe me, my clubs were 2 to 3 times more expensive anyway because they were left-handed. So most of the time I was using someone else's. They're right-handed. That's okay. And guess what? I like the Second Amendment. I like firearms. Guess what you cannot use as a lefty? One of the types that aesthetically I think are kind of cool and I'd like to see improved upon. Left-handed people can't use bullpups. Nope. Good luck having brass just, kind of smacking you in the eyeball or in the cheek every time you pull the trigger as a lefty. Yeah, bullpups are right-handed only. I think there's one being the P90 because it goes straight down. But it's technically not a bullpup. It's a bullpup, but it's not. But bullpups, no, you're right-handed. No ifs, ands, or buts. And they don't make left-handed firearms. A left-handed learns to use them a little differently. Everything is designed for like it's all. This is just how it is. You learn how to use it the best you can. Because good luck going to a gun manufacturer and be like, I'm left-handed, make it left-handed. All of their tools are for this specific thing, and not to mention the regulations say no, because that's an entirely new firearm. Have fun with that in California. Anyway, that's plenty of a rant. I'm gonna go play some more No Man's Sky. I want everyone to take care of themselves. I'm just very happy to see this in No Man's Sky. I'm very happy to see this mechanic. I want to see more games adopt something like this. It's just wishful thinking, I know. I don't want to force it either, because I don't want to be that person, you know? But that's enough of that. Gotta get back to regular stuff for a while after this, eh? This is Terra Quator on your Monday, December 2nd, 2024, day 337. I've ranted a lot because this is super exciting for me, at least. I want everyone to take care of themselves. Because I'm not having any pork tacos tonight, we're just going to have chili dogs tonight. It helps that it's going to be cold tonight. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Toxic protection falling.